Hello, welcome to Tael Talk. I'm Tael, and for something a little bit different, this will be, this is a little different to what I usually do on Tael Talks. Usually it's about responding to news or whatever, but as I mentioned in my previous video, I play a lot of games, and when I play a game, I don't know if I'm going to review it, or if I'm just going to use it for footage, or what I'm going to do with it. And some games aren't necessarily great for footage, but I still think they're interesting, but not necessarily interesting enough for a full in-depth review like I do with some other games. So, when you see Tael Talks and a game title and a system next to it, that's just me talking about a game I've played through that I thought I should give my thoughts on, but didn't want to do a full review of. So this is obviously a lot less formal. There's no script or anything like that. This is me just looking at notes I've written about the game and talking about it, and at the end whether or not it's worth playing, or if I personally think it's worth playing. So I guess it is a review of sort, but it's not an in-depth review at all. So, obviously, as the title of this video states, I recently played through South Park: The Stick of Truth. I actually played through this probably about 2 months ago, but I've written all my notes and everything up when I had been playing through it in order to review it. But the more I've looked at the footage, it's not necessarily a game I personally feel that lends itself well to a full review, for reasons I'll get into through this video. But it was actually the last game, or one of the last games I bought before I left Australia to move here to Canada. So the version I played was the Australian version with the censoring, which, you know, I thought it was funny when those censorship things came up. I was under the impression that there was only one censored scene in the whole game, but there's actually quite a few, and I think that actually made it quite a bit funny, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, South Park's a funny thing. I used to watch it quite religiously. I haven't for the last few years. I think a lot of people are the same. But I picked the game up because, one, I'm a massive fan of the Paper Mario series. I think Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, which is a game I will definitely be reviewing at some point, is one of my favorite games on the GameCube, probably only second to Metroid Prime. I'm an absolute fan of that. So the idea of a South Park game, especially with Matt and Trey actually writing for it, unlike the Nintendo 64 game that I'm sure many of you remember, that excited me. That very much interested me. I was kind of dubious because Obsidian don't have a good track record with games not having bugs and stuff, which I will definitely be getting into. But yeah, it was a game I was keeping my tabs on, and then there was the whole thing where THQ went under, and it was passing hands, and the game's had a very, very interesting life. But anyway, on to the things about the show, or not the show, but the game that I like, and I think first and foremost is just the game captures the spirit of the show in a way that I didn't think would ever be possible. I know it's weird to say that because the show is basically just crude 2D cutouts that look awful, but the act of actually making something look awful on purpose, as there are other animators out like me who know this, making things look bad on purpose is incredibly hard because it has to look bad but still appealing. That's an incredible hard balance to make. Matt and Trey have been keeping that up for many years now, but doing that in a game engine in real time, I didn't think that was something that would ever be possible. And they found a way to do it, which I think, I tip my hat to Obsidian for that. That was really amazing that they managed to do that. As I mentioned earlier, the combat is very much based off Paper Mario, the same sort of, it's turn-based, but there are like little button prompts and things you can do to do extra damage. It's a system that I think also Final Fantasy VI had, and the Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo, and it's something that I wish was in more turn-based RPGs, because I find turn-based RPGs, I don't hate them or anything like that, but I find having that little extra bit of a prompt to makes it a little bit more engaging for me personally. It's why I love Final Fantasy VI so much, and I think Final Fantasy VII is an incredibly boring and not a particularly fun game to play through. So, yeah, the combat itself I quite enjoyed. I did find myself sticking to the same characters instead of switching things up much. There were some characters I don't think I ever even used. I pretty much just stuck to Kenny, Butters, and my character, I think, for the whole game, essentially, unless I needed someone else for a really specific puzzle or something like that. The town itself, once again, this is the first time the Matt and Trey ever actually mapped out the town of South Park, and that's something that they talked about a lot in the promotional videos for it as well. The map was really impressive, and it felt like a really coherent and real place, which I thought was really cool. And it's just another one of those like little touches, I guess, that made South Park feel so much more authentic and legitimate than a lot of other licensed games ever can even hope to achieve. Exploring the town, of course, you come across plenty of side quests. These are all side quests. It's an RPG. You got to have those. I felt they felt really well integrated into the game. There's a lot of RPGs I play where the side quests feel kind of artificial or not very natural. It's just talk to someone and they ask you to go find a sword because reasons. This game obviously did that as well, but I guess having the South Park characters put you on those missions to find things. The cutscenes around them were done in a way where it didn't feel unnatural. Like doing side quests, I felt very, very natural in here, and well, the handing out of the side quests felt very natural. And also, a lot of these side quests led to you getting summons. Now, summons were something that disappointed me in the game. First of all, I think they looked particularly amazing. They looked amazing, and they're hilarious to watch, but the game takes place over 3 days, and you can only use each summon once a day. And you can't use summons in boss fights, you could only use them in standard battles. And what this ended up leading to was, and after you use it, you had to go back and talk to the original person again to like get it to work again the next day, which was stupid. Anyway, the summons are kind of useless, because you can only use them in the standard battles out and about town, which are easy, because it's not a particularly hard game, so they're really there just for the flair of being there. Which is fine, but I don't know, they didn't win me over in a gameplay context. I didn't understand the point of them. I thought they were funny to watch the first time you saw them, but then after that it was like, whatever. The game also employed some environmental puzzle solving, which at first my brain couldn't wrap its head around. I got stuck in a room because I didn't know what I was supposed to do, and that's when I realized I was supposed to be using the mechanics of the battle outside battle. And once I worked that out, the game became a lot more fun. But there's some really, really clever environmental puzzles in there, such as this example here when you're in a school and you're walking around and there's fires and you're knocking things over and whatever, and you know, it's really simple, but it's fun and engaging, and it was something that I hadn't seen that much in other RPGs, and I actually really appreciated the fact that that was in there. It almost felt a bit adventure gamey-ish with these little puzzle solving sort of things, so I thought that was really, really cool, and I really appreciated that. The story itself is a lot of fun. I believe it was originally going to be a movie, and it decided to turn it into a game instead. The way it escalates and changes and evolves is quite brilliant, and I won't go into too much detail about it, but I did definitely find the story to be pretty funny, and I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect of it as well. I mean, what's an RPG without a good story, right? The fan service throughout the game was all fantastic. Really well done, really clever. Some of it's in your face, some of it's a little hidden away, then you have to dig for it. That sort of stuff is brilliant. I love that a lot. Something I didn't love a lot, and I mean, like, once again, I'm just looking at notes in the order I wrote this, so it's going to jump around a bit. But I played it on the PlayStation 3, and there were a lot of technical problems. Now, this game had almost been out for a year at this point, and there was quite a few patches for it. I had a lot of frame rate issues. I had one part where the game completely glitched out and all the text went weird, and I couldn't read anything or do anything, and that was just bizarre, and I had to reset my entire system. It just generally, I don't know if it's the same on the PC or the Xbox 360, but the PS3 version definitely has a ton of technical problems. So if you are still looking to buy up this game cheap, which I'm sure some of you are, I would definitely recommend getting either the Xbox 360 or the PC version. If all you have is a PS3, I'd still recommend getting it, but overall, I would definitely recommend the other console versions of it. They might be better. It's Obsidian, so I mean, like, the other versions of Fallout that they did were better on the other platforms, so I'm assuming this will be as well. So back to the other stuff. The game has a lot of character customization. Some of it is stat-based, some of it's purely for the looks of it. A lot of that sort of stuff was really fun. I enjoyed that quite a bit. The weapon and armor stuff, it's, in terms of the way it upgrades your abilities and things, it's very, very limited, but it is there. I mean, in the end, the whole upgrade system and the RPG elements of it are a bit underbaked. They're not particularly amazing or anything, but they're there and they're fun. And changing the way your character looks is pretty great. Like, my character started out looking like my old cartoon character Gurkman from when I was making Flash cartoons years and years ago, and I think I actually finished the game as a woman. So the game is definitely very open in terms of that. Why I became a woman I won't say, because that's one of the funniest scenes in the game, but I decided not to change myself back afterwards, because I'm weird like that, I suppose. The music in the game is fantastic. It has a very... Who would I compare the music to? It feels very Jeremy Soule. Actually, when I initially heard it, I thought it might have been Jeremy Soule composing, but it was someone else whose name I've forgotten. But it definitely has like a lot of it's orchestrated, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I wish it was available somewhere online to buy it, but as far as I can tell from the research I've done or the looking for it I've done, it is not, and that makes me rather sad because I really wish it was. I really love the music for it. I'd love to be able to just like listen to it while I'm animating or things like that. It has a really good checkpoint system. Whenever there's going to be a major battle, a checkpoint's just before that battle, after It's just really, really well timed. I hate it in RPGs where there's a checkpoint before a cutscene, before a battle, or the cutscenes are unskippable. All the checkpoints in this game are incredibly well placed, which I very much appreciated, because there's a lot of games out there who put checkpoints in just bizarre places, and it drives me nuts. So that is something that I haven't seen anyone else mention in any review, and I really wanted to mention that. Checkpoints, this is how you do them. Perfectly placed. During the menu system in battle, this was something else I thought was really, it's really, really touchy. It's quite easy to overshoot the option that you're looking to select. I don't know why this is or why it's so touchy, but hey, that's just how it is. I wish that had been tightened up a little bit, or it had been slowed down a little bit, because it just felt too quick and too inaccurate. And I would have thought that that'd be a really simple thing to fix. Apparently they didn't think it was necessary. I personally think that that did. And in terms of other UI elements too, which is, for some reason the UI is the last thing I had listed here note-wise, the menu feels really, really slow. Like it's constantly loading information in a strange way. It doesn't feel like it's been optimized at all. It's certainly not snappy or quick. The menu system, yeah, feels incredibly slow and cumbersome, which is unfortunate because you do spend quite a bit of time in that menu. But overall, South Park: The Stick of Truth, I definitely recommend the game. It's, if you're a fan of South Park or you're a fan of turn-based RPGs, it'll tickle both your fancies. It won't disappoint you as a South Park fan. The RPG mechanics might underwhelm you if you're an RPG fan, but if you're a action RPG, or not action RPG, but if you enjoy more light-hearted, story-based games, definitely recommend South Park: The Stick of Truth. It goes in some very clever and interesting directions, and it's a lot of fun. So if it's getting cheaper now, if you've been waiting to pick it up, I would definitely recommend picking it up. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I give 2 thumbs up to South Park: Stick of Truth. Just beware that it does have some technical issues. This has been Tael Talks, and thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you played the game in the comments below and what you thought of it, if you agree or disagree with anything I've said, and I'll be sure to respond. And thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.